Health and Nutrition with Dr. Chapa on Tuesdays. Good morning, Dr. Chapa. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Gardy. This is Dr. Aaron Chapa, Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, and I'm glad to be, with you guys yet again. It's fun to be just ever present, no matter where we are in the technological world. I feel like, I could be on a beach somewhere right now and still be able to be with you guys and sharing a message of wellness and hope and encouragement and pressing people to, not, conform to the ways of the world, but to recognize that there's a better way, through our personal choices, our lifestyle modifications, things that we have control over, and there's a better way mentally to guard our hearts, our minds, and our souls through Christ Jesus. So it's just exciting that we're not limited because technology has it's got so much leverageable platforms to share and be present with everybody. So God bless everybody. Good morning, everybody. So glad that y'all are all tuned in. I hope that y'all are ready for Choppa Talk today.
You in the past year and a half or so, sometimes you go out of town or there's some business and other things that you have to handle in other parts. And we didn't have this ability to do this, but due to things shutting down and just the uncertainty of everything, right? We had to make some adjustments. But now whenever you go out of town, if you want to, you can always kind of call in and say, what's up? This is how you get your body better, just for a little bit, even if you have like a replacement in or anything like that.
That's right. That's right. And it is nice to know because I've kind of gotten good with it. The cell phone works, the computer works. As long as I have access to a Wi-Fi, I'm in business. So
Yeah.
it's pretty radical. So
Yeah.
it's just a glorious day, man. I'm excited about what the Lord's doing. On the 15th of every month since February, we've been doing a fasting day, and we're at a point where we feel kind of the Lord's kind of prompting us to talk about fasting at a different level, with our patient base as well as our listeners here on the air. Is that we believe that in the Bible, the disciples came to Jesus, and many times they were able to do a lot of the miracles and wonders and feats that Jesus called them to do. But there was this one particular incident where the disciples weren't able to cast out this demon and out of this man, and they went to Jesus and they said, Jesus went and said, "Oh, ye of little faith," and he went and cast this devil out. And the disciples said, "Why couldn't we do that?" And interestingly enough, Jesus said, "That's because this one required prayer and fasting." And many people, I'm surprised, aren't really familiar with, some of the values and the benefits of fasting. And if you're not, and you're concerned or worried about, health reasons, fasting can be a very valuable, powerful thing to your health. But spiritually, we're in a position right now in the world of uncertainty. I'm seeing post-traumatic stresses of COVID. I'm seeing, people just living in constant terror and fear. The spirit of fear is gripping people very tightly, and I believe that spirit is that is a demonic presence that is gripping people in an unnecessary way, and we've got to be careful not to let that spirit of fear grip us, and recognize that vigilance is what we need, not fear. And fasting tomorrow on the 15th is a day where we're just going to tell the Lord that we are going to live on more than just bread alone. We're not going to live on bread alone tomorrow. We're going to say no to physical food, but water and teas are acceptable during the 24 hours. And we're going to pray. So like people go, well, I have to work. No problem. As you're going through your day, set an alarm on your phone and just take 30 seconds throughout your day, several times, throughout the day, where you just stop and just pray for your family. Pray for your own deepening of your faith, that the Lord might anoint your eyes with salve, that you might see, that you might recognize that you have a plan, that He's got a plan for you, and that you can awaken to that vision that He's putting in your heart. Something maybe you've known you need to be doing for a long time, but just haven't been for whatever reason, and need clarity. that you've got a big decision coming up and you don't know what to do. You're going to use tomorrow to fast and pray through those experiences. If you got family, friends, loved ones, people that you care about that are sick physically, that they're lost spiritually, and that you want to intercede for them, you can use that time for that. If you want to pray for your city leaders, your government leaders, your presidential leaders, if you want to intercede at any level for your church or your social circle, for you to make an imprint and make an impact for the Lord, that's what the 15th is all about. And the 15th of every month, it's an arbitrary number because in February, the Lord put it on my heart to actually fast every Monday. And so I want to be a yes man for Jesus. And so I did, and that turned into me and my son doing some fasting together. And then in March and April, May, June, my son and I have been doing this with one of my other staff. And then, we're talking this through more and more and realizing how powerful it is. And I know it's out of context, but I love the spot in the Bible where it talks about, if one can put 1,000 to flight, two can put 10,000 to flight. And what if a body of people was praying and fasting? And I believe it talks about that in the Bible, that if we would stop, we would pray and repent, the Lord would heal our land. And I think we're in a space where we need to receive some healing. And we need to see that healing in our social circles, in our lives, and an opening up the idea that the 15th of every month going forward is going to be a day where we fast and pray together as a community. So there is no agenda other than what the Lord puts on your heart. So if you are curious about it, Lord, a simple prayer is, Lord, speak to me. I want to listen. Should I fast tomorrow with Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center? And what will I pray about? What is on my heart? Help me see and help me get started on this journey of saying no to the flesh, denying my flesh in order to say yes to you more often. And so that's kind of something I wanted to really press into and share and open up and give people an opportunity to be a part of with us in faith. And I just pray that people hear it and it falls on good ground and people join us. That'd be wonderful.
Dr. Chapa, in the Bible, the disciples, they were praying, but the thing that was missing, Jesus said, was the fasting. I mean, what does fasting do to you physically, like your mind, your brain, your body, your will? What does it do to you that, I mean, I don't know if we can actually put it together, like how is that the missing piece, but at least what does it do to the physical body?
So I find that the fasting gives the digestive system a break. You're giving, every day it's used. And in today's world, every day it's used and abused. We're putting in junk food, carbs, excessive carbs, fake carbs that are basically nutrient poor. There's no value really added to it. They call it enriched, but in all truth, the enriching is really fortified fake nutrients that they're putting in it, calling it a good thing. It'd be like me taking $100 out of your pocket and putting 25 cents in there and calling you enriched.
Yeah.
I really have just depleted you. And so that's what is our food supply is. And so when we put in enough make-believe food, we're going to get make-believe health. And so if we can help people see to eat real food, that's a good thing. But if we can also fast from foods that are poisonous or abusive. I talked to a gentleman yesterday, and he got sick last week on, right after 4th of July. And he came in yesterday and was telling me, man, I'm still not 100%. I'm shocked. Normally we knock this out and I'm doing all this stuff. And I'm like, hey, take me through what happened, and he said, oh, well, I told you I got into that sugar. And I'm like, yeah, it was those particular bars that he was getting into. No, he goes, no, that was before. And I decided I wasn't going to eat sugar again. Well, on 4th of July, I had pecan pie. And I go, huh.
Sounds good though, Dr. Chapa.
No question. It sounds delightful. I'm thinking, I want one of those for a cheat meal. And so, and I go, when did you get sick again? And then he calculates up, and it was within 72 hours of the pecan pie. And he goes, you got to be kidding me. I didn't even put two and two together. And I said, yeah, and you didn't tell me that happened. And I said, but what his body recognized was that he put a poison in his body, number one. And number two, it slowed down his digestive bowel motility to an unhealthy level, and it backed up in his sewer system into his liver. It backed up his sewer system into his lymphatics. And now his system was unable to get the trash out. So the body is going to use what we call a secondary exit channel. And it backs up into the lymphs of the neck. It backs up into the ears, nose, and throat. That's called, a sinus infection, a sinus cold, a head cold, strep throat, something of tonsillar throat swelling or pain in your throat. All those are those types of check engine lights. So this guy got a taste of putting poison in, his system not being able to manage it, and his body backfiring on him, and it showed up in the form of an infection. What a bummer. But at the same time, what a blessing. His body learned. And I think that's a really cool story. And so what fasting does is it allows you to take a day off or a time away from certain types of food. So like when we're talking about an absolute fast, so you've heard intermittent fasting, days of fasting, water fasting. When you go on a fasting escapade, what we are looking at is giving digestion a break that allows your body to just focus its daily, what it would normally use energy for digesting food. It's going to use that energy to cleanse out the bowel of excess waste and debris that's bound up and stopped up inside your tissues. And so the fasting is a fantastic way to open up your lymphatics. And when your lymphatics are open and clear, you're less likely to have sinusy lung trash buildup, skin eruptions, skin reactions, and your body can naturally start dumping excess waste that it has. The average American has 10 to 15 meals caked up inside of them. And they have a hard time buying into that because they have a bowel movement every day and they think, oh, that's not me, that's not my problem. You're the one I'm talking to. ABC is squeezed at the top of a toothpaste tube and XYZ comes out the bottom. And see, people they go, oh, I guess you're right, And food should digest healthily in approximately 18 hours in your digestive system. So what you ate at breakfast isn't coming out 24 hours later. It should come out within 18 hours later. So you should be having 2-3 bowel movements a day, every day, in order to make sure that your body is maximizing its energy pathways. So fasting is a great way to do that. Now, what if your fast is just to fast away from sodas for a day? Is that classified a fast? Well, yes, of course. Anything that you get away from and take out of your diet is classified a fast. But you don't get all those therapeutic benefits. So now, when you do an actual elimination of food for a period of time, and it could be like what people are doing with the intermittent fasting, where they take 12 hours and 12 hours. They eat in a 12-hour window, or they eat in a 10-hour window, and then they don't eat for 14 hours. What that is looking like is that's allowing your body to break down ABC food that you put in that day and eliminate it more frequently, so that you don't have XYZ coming out 4, 5, 6 days later. Your bowels are moving that trash through. The reason people, I believe, as they get older, start developing strokes and Alzheimer's and dementia and Parkinson's and other neural degeneration diseases is because their bowels are dirty, their liver is inefficient, their lymphatics are congested, and their body is storing toxins in the brain, and those brain cells are degenerating. The blood is becoming more and more sluggish and stagnant. And then all of a sudden, they're more susceptible to blood pressures. They're more susceptible to degeneration of the arteries, plaque formation in the arteries, and vascularity changes, the pauses of life that we've talked about in previous shows, vascular pause, the elasticity pause, where the veins and the arteries, they begin to harden, and then all of a sudden they rupture and break, just like an old water hose that has been out in the sun too long. That causes massive shift in biochemistry, aka potential death. That is never good. And when these people do recover, they're never fully functional like they were before. So as a person gets older, and I would say 60s and on up, we got to change the way you look at food, change the way you look at your hygiene care of the body. How are you taking care of those bowels? How are you taking care of that liver? And this all feeds right into what we're kind of wanting to discuss with thyroid this month. And thyroid is one of these metabolic boosting glands that you need working for you. And so where's the thyroid? The thyroid lives right here behind the throat. And it's, and so when a person, hears the word thyroid, everybody probably knows somebody in a family, friend, loved one that has a thyroid condition of some kind. They're on products, whether it's a Synthroid product or an Armor Thyroid product, levothyroxine. I mean, they got all kinds of different thyroid hormone products that they put them on. But what's interesting, I was just looking this up this morning, is I found that there is over in Synthroid, for example, which is called levothyroxine, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's got 15, actually it's got more than this, but 15 different dyes and colors mixed in it. And so they're giving you a quote unquote solution for a condition that is running rampant in our country. Everybody knows somebody that's got a thyroid glitch, and at mass proportion, and even the people that don't have a diagnosed thyroid definitely have symptoms, which we'll talk about in a moment. But to see that some of the solutions are laced with chemicals that are further denaturing and causing toxicity to rise in the body, just doesn't seem like a great answer. It might be an answer, but it might not be a great answer. But it may be the only answer that you've been given, right?
Right, Dr. Chapa. Why would they put those dyes and the extra stuff in there? That just seems like it would be like a cosmetic thing. Why, do you have any idea why they would even add that stuff in there?
So the reason that they put these dyes, fillers in there is for preservation. It's to make it look more appealing to the eye. There is really no added value. It's a potential preservative. They have found that even in a lot of synthetic vitamins, like when people do, with COVID, everybody ran to the store and bought vitamin C, right? Mm-hmm. And they're taking 5,000, 10,000 milligrams of ascorbic acid every day, having no idea that ascorbic acid is not the vitamin C complex that the research really says supports a healthy immune system. Linus Pauling was really big in pushing ascorbic acid into the forefront of health and vitality, but research has shown that ascorbic acid can't cure scurvy. It doesn't help support the immune system at a really strong, healthy level when you have a depletion of vitamins P, K, and J, when you have a depletion of tyrosinase, other vitamin C complex enzymes, bioflavonoids, and cofactors. With your body's natural reserve is depleted of these other nutrients, and then you put excess amounts of ascorbic acid, which is just a synthetic, like needle pull extract of what God intended you to be getting every time you sink your teeth into citrus or some sort of true where you'll get the full complex. Now all of a sudden, what is a patient to do? Their body begins to rob their own tissues of vitamins P, K, and J, tyrosinase, bioflavonoids, and cofactors, and it weakens their immune system. It doesn't fix the problems that we wish it would or hope it would. So when we look at these medications and we say, oh, why would they be putting, aluminum in a product, or FD&C yellow number 6 or blue 40? You start looking and go, it doesn't make any sense.
If they found a way to take all of that stuff out, would it be okay? Like the dyes and the aluminums, or what's your thought on that?
Well, I think that if they would take those things out, I think what they would find is that they would have their product is unstable. And so their product wouldn't actually be able to be administered the way they want to administer it, because it doesn't have the stability to hold together without all these chemical fillers. And that, again, causes levels of toxicity. So like when we're looking at hypothyroid being a sluggish, slow thyroid, and what the medical profession wants to do is they want to whip the thyroid back into shape using a drug. They want to do the work of the thyroid for it, but they don't ever worry about healing the thyroid and getting it to function on its own the way God designed it to. You see, anything that your body can develop, it can what?
Undevelop.
It can undevelop. And so if the body can slip down the slippery slope of disease, then we can turn the table and start feeding the body differently. And we can find ourselves in a position where we're undeveloping the old stuff that we've been exposed to that caused us to be in the boat that we're in. It takes lifestyle. It takes a shift in our thinking, a shift in our attitude to make certain that we are not going down that slippery slope towards disease, but choosing life. And so when we put in chemicals and fillers and different things of that nature, one of the things that happens is the liver, as it gets more and more toxic, the thyroid naturally begins to slow down. And so if we can get the liver to not be slow and sluggish, then the thyroid will be less likely metabolically slow and sluggish itself. And people go, that's interesting. And the way I try to help people see it is, if your chemistry factory of detoxification isn't cleansing well, what winds up happening is the thyroid has to slow down production, therefore decreasing metabolic waste buildup, byproducts to be released, because your liver, your chemistry set, can't eliminate the waste fast enough. So we're absolutely trying to get the liver, your giver, to be clean and efficiently detoxifying you from day-to-day stuff that you're exposed to, whether you intend to be or accidentally exposed to, through water, through air, through food, through drink. What we're looking at is, how do we help keep the process of downstream actions eliminating what we don't need, so that our thyroid, metabolic system, our endocrine axis, the hypothalamus, the pituitary that are in our brain, down into our thyroid, our neck, regulate hormonal production and metabolism down to our adrenal glands, down through our gonads, our ovaries, our testicles, and we begin to see a change or an impact on the glandular system that leads to vitality for people. And that vitality is ultimately what people are after. We want to help people be the best version of that they can be all the days of their life. And as we get older and our body is naturally degenerating, we've got to be mindful that how we play the game and how we take care of our body matters. And so we always want to encourage people, start today. What you do today will impact how your body and your thyroid and your metabolism function tomorrow. So, what are some of the symptoms that people are experiencing when they have hypothyroid? Do you know?
I don't know. I think it would be hypothyroid. Isn't that whenever you, I guess you would like be lackadaisical maybe, or tired and gain weight? Is that what that one is?
That is definitely the top two symptoms. And nobody likes to be lackadaisical, tired, or gaining weight. Those are three like no words, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so people that are having lackadaisical fatigue, early onset fatigability, or they have weight issues, they aren't fitting into the modern mold of America, where we're push, go, stress all the time, never have an opportunity to relax or decompress, because they're pressing so hard to get through their day. if we can give them answers to why their body is shutting down this way, the thyroid is rarely, and I've said this before, but I really want people to grab it, is it's rarely ever the problem, the source of the problem. Oftentimes the thyroid is bullied by some other environmental factor. That could be simply constipation. Your bowels aren't running well enough. So if you haven't done a bowel cleanse in the last 3 months, you should do a bowel cleanse. Come see us, Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center. We are like detox junkies. We teach people how to clean out, cleanse, detox every system in the body. It's called transformational medicine. It is an amazing way of deburdening the body, allowing the body to perform at its best potential every day, all the days of your life. And your body will and needs to go through these processes every quarter, every 6 months, every year. And some people, we do it monthly, to really reset. Some people just need the mental, psychological redevelopment. I have this one gentleman, every month we do a 10-day blood sugar reset or a 10-day inflammatory reduction program. And it's a really hyper-focused nutrition plan, diet plan, so that he can really focus throughout the month. And what he's finding is that when he goes through that 10 days, he's more apt to take care of the next 20 days out of his month because he focused so hard on those 20, the first 10. So it's interesting. He works hard the first 10 and he's able to back off a little bit the next 20, but finds that his backing off is really good compared to high carbs, high refined sugars, additives, alcohol, and processed foods. So if we can get more people enrolled in this idea, clean out your bowels, clean out your liver, your thyroid will function better. So what are some other symptoms of hypothyroidism? It could be loss of hair on the lateral third or the outside third of your eyebrow. It could be loss and thinning of hair on your head. And so when people start seeing that begin to change, that wakes people up and they go, oh, whoa, easy. I can tolerate the weight gain, but don't mess with my hair. Like I remember there's one thing I'll never tell a woman is that she can't wear makeup. I'll never say those words, and that she can't get her hair done or dyed, because those are topics you just don't go to, right? I mean, there are times where because of toxicity that we have to discuss chemicals and things that we put on our bodies. But definitely, it has to be a welcomed conversation because most people don't want to venture down that path and have to have the gray hair because society tells us we have to look like we're 20 even when we're 80.
Right now, you're listening to KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. It's Kickstart. My name's Gardy, talking to Dr. Aaron Chapa with Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center. So we've been talking about the thyroid. Right now, we're talking about hypothyroidism. And earlier, we already went over what the thyroid is, where it is. But the one thing that we really did not touch on specifically is who does it affect? Does it affect men and women? Can it affect children? Who are the people that I guess can develop thyroid issues, Dr. Chapa?
So I would say that whenever you're looking at thyroid, it can affect anybody because it's a part of your endocrine system. And again, when I say the words endocrine system, I'm talking about your hypothalamus, it's in your brain, your pituitary in your brain, your thyroid in your neck, your adrenals above your kidneys, and your gonads is what we call your sex organs in your pelvis. And we call this the central axis. At the glandular axis, the endocrine system, if they're aligned right, your vitality, your energy, your productivity, your mental state is so much more at a heightened resolve that you can take on new challenges. You can handle new stresses. You can press forward towards a bigger and more brighter future because you've got the energy and vitality to do so. And when the glandular axis is disrupted, when the thyroid is sluggish and not functioning at its peak performance, you will start noticing that you burn out quicker throughout the day and that you're not able to get through your day. And so it can affect it. Traditionally, most women feel this change happening in their body. And typically, these are the ones that they look normal on blood work, but they have every symptom. They have the weight gain patterns. And the traditional weight gain pattern for a thyroid disorder is, the pear-shaped body type or the apple-shaped body type, or when if it's a male, the way it kind of presents itself is that it is I think it's funny. It's called the Dunlop belly. My belly has Dunlopped over my belt buckle. And so it's just, it's a terrible visual, but you won't forget it. But that's a liver thyroid pathway. And so when you have a very distinct waistline, but you're heavy in the chest, love handle, and belly department, that's traditionally a thyroid liver glitch or a liver thyroid glitch in the male. And so we want to observe, like, how does a person put on weight? That helps us see where some of their endocrine issues lie. And so then whenever the hair starts falling out or the skin becomes dry and they start noticing that, man, they're flaking, their skin is, not as radiant and pretty as they would like it to be, they start reaching to chemical lotions and potions. And these chemical lotions and potions oftentimes could be engine degreasers. They could be oftentimes fake mineral oils that are very harsh chemicals on the body, contrary to what the label says. And a lot of times these harsh things that we're putting on our head to wash our hair, or these dyes, or to dye our hair or our skin, to polish, so to speak, our different types of known cancer-causing agents. And so we've got to look at, this idea of what is it that we're putting on our body that could be a personal toxin that we're putting on every day. And so that is something that has to potentially be addressed. And I think the more efficient a person's liver is, the more they can kind of get away with some of those, activities and not have a negative effect. But man, if you're having symptoms and you haven't addressed this, you've got to look into the amount of chemicals you put on your body, on your head, in your mouth, on your skin, and you'll be shocked that these things are known to cause problems in people.
Dr. Chapa, we were talking a bit about medication earlier, mainly Synthroid, and we're talking about the thyroid right now. So can you let me know, I guess, if there's one better, what's the difference between like hormone therapy, and how does that look versus medication whenever trying to treat the thyroid?
So, well, hormone therapy, my brain jumps over to estrogen, progesterone, and more of if a person's having hot flashes, if they're having night sweats, if they are moody, cranky, irritable, and it's on a cyclical wave. Maybe they're going into menopause, one of the pauses of life where you have a change, a second puberty, if you will, from what we call fertile place to a less fertile place, a menopausal place. And when you're looking at hormone therapy, oftentimes it's estrogen, progesterone, testosterone are the conversational topics. When you're looking at thyroid, you can still be irritable, cranky, frustrated, and go through those same conversational pieces. It's a little bit trickier to figure out which one without actually having the case in front of me. But when we look at hormone therapy is it going to a Synthroid, Armour thyroid, some of these different types of thyroid medications that are used, these are typically only given if there is a diagnosable blood pathway change on the blood panel, and they typically only run the TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, and they run maybe a T3 and a T4, and hopefully they run a free version of the T3, because that's your active hormone. You only produce about 7%. So the thyroid produces these two substances, T4 and T3. T4 is an inactive hormone that the thyroid produces. T3 is an active metabolic hormone that is usable right there, and allows your body to perform really well. T4 is produced at 93%. And the reason for that is because your body knows that it needs to get the active hormone down to your toe. Well, you can't whenever your heart's going to get first dibs. Your heart might let T4 go past, but if it needs it, it'll bring it in. convert it into T3 and then use it for metabolic activity. And so we've got to make sure that your cellular abilities to leverage these T4, T3 hormones appropriately and make sure that everybody gets their share. Now, there's some organ systems in our body, our core, vital core, or visceral organs seem to get their lion's share of the health, the more metabolic hormone, because you want a healthy heart, you want a healthy digestive tract, you want the liver to be converting T4 to T3 so that it can displace in the blood these active hormones, so that you don't have the mid-afternoon crash, you don't have the irritability, you don't have the hair issues or dry skin or the weight gain that people are suffering with day in and day out. And so the thyroid, when sluggish, will throw off a bunch of symptoms. So we really, in this day and age, due to the amount of inflammatory foods that we consume on a regular basis, we need to be running more blood tests that reveal antibodies that the thyroid might be producing, because hypothyroid, left untreated, undiagnosed over time, will continually get worse. And that worse presentation is an autoimmune condition, where the body actually begins to see the thyroid as such a pain in the rump that it will attack itself, and it starts to attack it and beat up on it. That's called an autoimmune disorder. And then oftentimes you'll start seeing other blood chemistry factors, anemias pop up, very common with your autoimmune thyroids, and people misread those tests as well. So at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, we read blood tests through what we call a fine-tooth comb lens. We put on a different set of goggles and we look at you functionally, not just pathologically, because we know that people are walking around what we call functionally ill, meaning they look good enough to pass a blood test, but Gardy, they don't look good enough to function well in life. They can feel it. They're whipping themselves to try to stay awake and not get through their morning meetings and their afternoon meetings and their late afternoon meetings, some of these people, or they're not creative in the afternoon because all their energy is spent by 1 o'clock or worse. I had a patient one time come in, and she was a high level exec lady, and she was unable to even cook, clean, or bathe herself. She had a chauffeur that would take her around, and she would get all of her work done from about 5 to 10 a.m. and then she was spent. The rest of the day, she was weighted on hand and foot because she just couldn't function. And it really, that case opened my eyes to, one, the severity of people walking in the streets, because even in that extreme situation, you would think that her blood would have been just disastrous, right? But no, her blood was perfect. And that's what's so misleading. Now, in this particular instance, she was so bad off when she came to see me. She was also on several medications. And the reason she was on those medications even knows because she had so many symptoms that looked like it, smelled like it, and acted like an autoimmune thyroid, but they couldn't diagnose it. And so in this particular case, I was able to intervene and help her. And it dawned on me that, man, it may be possible that some of why even natural medicine, alternative medicine, it struggles in helping some of these extreme cases is because they don't understand what we call frequency dosing or frequency treatments. People can't just take one meal a day and call it good. You've got to frequently throughout the day push, feed, stimulate, nourish, strengthen, bolster, support your system throughout the day. And then at certain parts of the day, we put the brakes on. So, it's simple, but it's not always easy. And so these concepts are simple to me, but I've figured out how to work with people and manipulate their chemistry and help them navigate their day-to-day, their family, situations, their life situations, and then help them integrate a plan to navigate the terrain that they're faced with day in and day out through biochemical modulation, good, hearty nutritional density, getting good quality foods in. We've talked about this many times. Like when you're on a autoimmune diet or a hypothyroid diet, your diet can't be fried food. It can't be excessive carbohydrates and grains, things that already are continually contributing to the slowing down of the bowel or congesting the liver or backing up your lymphatics. And just like any, when I have a cheat meal, for example, I know my chemistry well enough that I'm not getting into cheesecake. I'm not getting into cheese and dairy products and milk and now I might have something that has like a butter of sorts in there, but I'm okay with butter because my body can digest that better than it can digest milk, cheese, yogurt, sour cream, ice cream, whey protein. And so I don't go in and slap a line in the mouth, because typically that could be, catastrophic.
Yeah, it's going to bite you. That's the thing. If you play with fire, you're probably going to get burned. So this is KHEA Radio 99.5 FM. It's Kickstart. My name's Gardy, talking to Dr. Aaron Chapa with Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center. We're talking about the thyroid. And one of the things that I'm curious about is what can trigger bringing on thyroid issues, maybe even hypothyroidism. If you have somebody in your family who has it, or maybe multiple people, does that mean that I am going to get it as well? Is it destiny?
Oh, absolutely not. So, obviously, whenever we're talking about any condition, whether it's thyroid, whether it's migraines, whether it's digestive issues, especially if it's cancer and it's in your family history, these are not destinations that you have to go. This is not the path that you want to go down. Now, does it mean that you couldn't, that you could get that program? Yes. If you follow a chocolate chip cookie recipe, you're going to develop what? Or you're going to get what? Chocolate chip cookies. So whenever a person has a history of thyroid in their family line, they might see, I notice that people in their patterns never do what they want to do. They always do what they know how to do. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is they eat the same breakfast mom and dad ate. They eat the same lunch that mom and dad ate. They eat the same dinners that mom and dad ate. Or frankly, if they're little kids, they eat worse, but here's the deal is, what if we could retrain the thinking, and get people eating healthy, getting people to eat more fresh, vibrant foods? I think at that point, people would start seeing a fresh vibrance come back into their own step, and that they would reverse these conditions that they've developed or prevent conditions from ever developing. And so it is, you have two codes in your body, a gene code, that's your what we call a genotype, and then you have your phenotype, that's your phenotypical expression of the gene code, the blueprint. So for me, for example, my body type, I've got heart disease in my family line. But do I have to get heart disease? Is that my destiny? Well, in the name of Jesus, no way. And guess what? I'm trusting in the Lord with all my heart, leaning not on my own understanding, in all my ways acknowledging him, and knowing he will direct my path. I love that scripture, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. But I'm also going to do my part. I'm going to start learning what causes heart disease. So in your case, what causes thyroid conditions? Well, it's going to be sluggish, slow bowel, sluggish, slow liver, backing up, slowing down your metabolism. So if you've got a family history of any diagnosis, first recognize you don't have to go down that path. It is familiar to you because people do familiar things, and I want to teach you a new thing. And that's what we do at Living Well, is we're teaching people new ideas, new principles on how to eat better, how to live better, how to be better one day at a time through food, through lifestyle, and nutrition is where it starts. All life, Gardy, you've heard me say it once. If not, you'll hear me say it 1,000,000 times as we do this. All life starts and stops at the cellular level. And nutrition, guys, is the fundamental backbone that allows your body to spiral off out of control or get traction and move forward. I hope that you choose the latter. I hope that you get traction to move forward.
Can we talk? Right? Yes, sir. Can we talk about detoxing? That's one thing that I feel like you're very knowledgeable about. Everybody at the office is really big on detoxing, and we're also doing that. There's the fast tomorrow, which is kind of interesting as well. But so detoxing and your thyroid, what other like organs in your body are related or influence the thyroid, and can detoxing help?
So whenever you look at detoxification, I look at detoxification like this. Every one of your organ systems can be a storage site for toxicity. And what is a toxin? Toxin is just anything that your body can't use. Well, most people, like I told you, that deal with thyroid, the thyroid's being bullied, it's not the cause. So toxins cause a lot of thyroid conditions. Where do these toxins come from? They could be toxins in your teeth. So you could detox your teeth by getting the mercury fillings, silver fillings, amalgam fillings taken out of your mouth and replaced with, a porcelain composite that is more healthy to your body. Because now, instead of outgassing known brain poison toxins, that now your body can be one less toxin that you're carrying every day. And people that have a mouthful of metal that go, man, that's too expensive. Hey, don't worry about it. Just do one quadrant a year. Heck, if you're on a really tight budget, do one tooth a year. Because every time you pull one of those negative burdens out of your mouth, the thyroid is going to be one of the key glands not affected negatively as much. And so we're slowing down the thyroid's need to be a storage unit and allowing the thyroid to become a metabolic diesel engine that runs 350,000 miles and takes you the distance and doesn't, give out on you in the middle of the night or on a road trip in at that most inopportune, inconvenient time. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And so remember, all organs in the body will act like a storage facility if the body is overrun with toxicity. And so now, what if you're not drinking enough water? I talked to a gal yesterday. She might drink 20 ounces of water a day. She's 150 pounds. That's 32 ounces per 50 pounds of body weight. This gal is 80 ounces behind schedule, give or take. And so we've got to get her water intake up just to meet basic day-to-day demands. The water helps to nourish and strengthen all cells in the body, the muscles in your body, wash and bathe lymphatics in your body, cleanse out debris and waste out of your bowels and digestion, help with all types of cellular function. I always joke around and kind of give the analogy that you've got cells in your body, trillions of them. And if you've got a pruny grape cell versus a plump grape cell, which one do you want to, eat? You want to eat healthy plump grapes or pruny old grapes?
That's raisins. Yeah, they turn into raisins, which I do like raisins, but I'd rather have the plump one. Yeah,
absolutely. And so interesting. Whenever it comes to cellular health, it could be that you're not putting enough fluid in to get rid of the toxins. It could be something that simple. And so if we're constantly putting in our daily allotment, 32 ounces of water per 50 pounds of body weight, we're allowing our body to cleanse itself, then you're building up toxicity. And then your body's going to start holding on to water, and because nature's solution to pollution is dilution. And so what the body's doing is it's holding on to a volume of water, toxic or not, in order to dilute the concentration of toxin over higher volume of water. So if you put in fresh water, you're washing out the toxicity. You don't need to hold on to that retention. So the bloating now starts going away. The need for your organs that are designed to do metabolic activity, since we're talking about thyroid, or liver in your chemistry set, or your spleen and cleaning out the blood, all of a sudden can do their job more effectively instead of be used as just a storage facility. Like, how often do we buy fancy tools but never use those tools to their fullest potential?
Yeah, usually you buy the new tool and you use it one time for the job, and then you kind of put it away, and then you may not ever use it again. But that's not the case. You can find other stuff to use it for. You mentioned the liver earlier. What does the liver specifically have to do with the thyroid?
Yeah, so being that the liver, people have this misconception that the liver is a filter. And so they go, why would anybody want to ever eat a liver? Well, whenever you're eating liver, you're actually supporting the blueprint matrix of your own liver. And so when you eat a liver, or you're working on your liver, remember your liver is not an oil filter that needs to be unscrewed, taken out, and then a new one put in. It is a chemical factory. It is doing quite a few conversions. One, particularly since on the topic of toxicity, it is converting these toxins that get put in these organ systems or in fat cells or in brain tissue, converting them into water soluble, something that we can excrete out of the body and push it into, out through our orifices, our skin through sweat, our air through our lungs, and, our urine through via our kidneys, and our bowels through our stool. And if we're getting these toxins to eliminate more effectively because the liver is breaking it down into the necessary byproducts that are excreted through these pathways, your body is much more efficient in its day-to-day work. It doesn't have a day of paperwork. How many people, like getting home at the end of the day and having mounds and mounds of paperwork that they didn't get done?
Nobody, not me.
I see you rolling your head back. No, please, that just sounds miserable.
Right.
And that is absolutely what happens in the body. The more accumulated toxicity that occurs over time, you start noticing little things start breaking down, such as maybe you're waking up more tired in the morning than when you went to bed. Maybe you're sleeping hot at night. You're sweating throughout the night. Maybe you have the yellow stains under your armpits, and you're like, ooh, where's that? Why does it smell like dirty rotten onions under there? Or foul, filthy cheese, moldy cheese. People that don't realize that body odor is an indication for toxicity. Now, does that mean that you got a diagnosis and that you've diseased? No, you just might have, very few friends because you smell funny. I'm just kidding. Hopefully your friends aren't judging you. But the reality is that toxicity shows up early as a small weed in the garden, easily pluckable with 2 fingers. But what happens is in the beginning, disease, although easy to fix, it's hard to recognize. And so nobody really throws up, a red flag when you have yellow stained armpits, or you have body odor, or you have a few little nights where you wake up at night to pee. In the end, disease is easy to recognize, but man, now you can't use 2 fingers. You got to have a hacksaw, chainsaw, not a hacksaw, but a chainsaw, and then a stump grinder to get the root system of that disease out of the body. Well, pulling out a root system leaves a pretty big divot in the ground, does it? Well, what if that's your body? So now we've got a big hole in our body that we had to just have removed. What other damage did it cause being there, number one? Number two, what other issues came about whenever as the process was developing? What level of compromise are you taking on? What health burden are you taking on whenever you're allowing a disease to develop in your body? And you might be thinking, well, how do I know I have a disease developing in my body? You need somebody like Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center to step in and be a coach with you, analyze you, figure you out, understand where your body's breaking down and why things pop up out of the blue. I oftentimes see the post-traumatic stress response where a person is fine. They go through this major stress. They somehow manage to get through it. And then on the backside of the stress, their body completely, boom, bottoms out and crashes. And so that post-stress is an indication of a nutritional deficiency. That post-stress, that inability to get back up again, is their adrenals were so overloaded, their body literally just malfunctioned. And so they've got to really start evaluating, like these check engine lights that are showing up in their body early in life, they can be addressed. There's an old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So if you've got these little things happening, well, you need somebody to help you see how to navigate that terrain and work through these potholes so that you don't find yourself with a, busted rim or a broken ankle or a real diagnosis that really is a setback that costs you 5, 10, 15 years of your life. And so we want you fully engaged in a nutrition program right now, like, because today's the next best time to plant an oak tree. I mean, the best time is when, Yardy?
30 years ago, a long time ago.
Absolutely. But, you can't go back in time. And so the next best time is right now.
Today.
And so health is eating well, living well, being well, one bite at a time today. And so every week when we get on living on KHEA radio, we have Chapa Talk, we share ideas. The goal is to wake you up to the idea that no matter what you're dealing with and how your body is dealing with your current situation, you can start moving it in a better direction. I'm always stunned at the people that they come in, they stick with us for a little while, they go away, and they come back, and they always say the same thing. I came back because I felt better than I've ever felt under care. And we all need accountability. I go see, a doc. I go see, people that can analyze my case, let me vent and be a patient on the hot seat, and they help me work through my health challenges and struggles. And we all have them. To say that you don't have anything wrong with you is you putting your head in the sand or burying yourself under a rock. Like, there's no way. Like, we all that are aging have challenges. And if you happen to know somebody that isn't in that boat, guess what? There's 99 other people that are in your boat, looking for answers. And Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center wants to be a resource for you, your family, your loved ones, in order to be the best version of you all the days of your life. And so without further ado, I know we're wrapping up, and I just want people to know that, you can do more than you realize. You just need better coaching. If you're willing, if you're able, if you're available, we can coach you, teach you, and guide you forward in whatever ailment you're dealing with, whatever condition you've been diagnosed with. And if you've been diagnosed with something, remember, you don't have to live with that diagnosis. Let's do what we can in the natural to support our bodies biochemically, mentally, emotionally. Let's spiritually feed ourselves so we can grow in a new, profound way. And then let's trust in the Lord with all our heart, with all our mind, and all of our soul, all the days of our life, and allow the Lord to shine his face upon us and do his part. And I think that when you bridge both the natural and the supernatural, wonderful, amazing things will happen.
Dr. Chapa, can you share what you have going on tomorrow with the fasting one more time and how people can participate, who it's for?
Yeah, so tomorrow is the 15th of the month. On the 15th of every month since February, me and a few of my close confidants have been doing some fasting. And the 15th is a day that we've just set aside where we're telling the Lord, you are my refuge. You are my fortress, my God in whom I trust. It's out of Psalm 91 and 2. And it's amazing to sit back and to realize your dependency on the Lord is your best form of worship. I want to say that again. Your dependency on Christ Jesus is the best form of worship that you can offer up to the Lord. And so, we find ourselves too often in a place where maybe we're not really we don't have any major needs. We don't have any major challenges. And I came across a passage in Revelation 3:17. And it says, because you say I'm rich and have become wealthy and have need of nothing. And some people will stop right there and say, well, I have tons of needs. I have unlimited needs and limited resources. I get it. But really and truly, you live in America. You are rich, compared to any other, third world country. And really, a lot of us don't have any major needs. Does that make sense? Like when you start reading, great Bible heroes like George Mueller, who literally had enough money in his bank account when he died to buy maybe a sofa, but he managed millions and millions and millions of pounds of resources in Great Britain in the late 1800s that survived, his ministry survived past him all the way into 1956, where he served and took care of 10,000 plus orphans, living day by day by faith of provision. The Lord never let him down. We don't live in that situation. We have clothes on our back. We have, hair gel for our hair. We have enough extra money to, put ink on our skin. We have enough food in our refrigerator that we throw out more than we eat. We are rich in many ways. So I'm going to read it. Because you say I am rich and have become wealthy and have need of nothing, and you do not know, and this is the scary part, you do not even know you're asleep, that you are wretched and that you're miserable and poor and blind and naked. This is Jesus talking. He says, I advise you to buy from me gold refined by fire. I like to say eternal fire, so that you may become rich, and white garments so that you may clothe yourself, so that you may, so that your shame of your nakedness will not be revealed, and eye salve to anoint your eyes, that you may see. Those whom I love, I reprove and discipline. Therefore, be zealous and repent. Remember, tomorrow, the 15th, is a day of fasting and prayer where you can repent for the sins that you know you're doing, the sins that you look in the mirror and you're carrying the burden of the world, if you will. Things that aren't maybe your best decisions. You're not being the best version of you that you could be for the Lord. And so we want you to take tomorrow as a day of offering, saying, I'm going to trust in the Lord for my provision, not in food and comfort and flesh and my belly. I'm going to say no to the flesh, and I'm going to say yes to the Spirit. And I'm going to feed my spirit, and you will be blown away by how powerful these experiences will be. And 24 hours will not hurt you. So tonight, for me, at 6:30 is my last meal, if you will, and I won't eat again until 8:30 on Thursday morning. And during that time, I will be fasting and praying. I'll be praying for guidance. I'll be praying for wisdom. I'll be praying for strength to persevere the challenges that I might face this month, in the next 30 days. We all have big decisions coming up. You can pray about those things. You've got stuff going on in your personal life that you can be praying for, interceding for, a child that's lost. Isaiah 53:6 says that all we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone toward our own way. And the Lord, God Almighty, has laid on him the iniquity of us all. That's Jesus that he laid on. And we can turn from our ways, turn our mind and our heart's affections to the Lord Jesus, and find help, find restoration, find refuge, find strength, find perseverance, find joy that is all fulfilling in all ways. And so at Living Well, we are a spiritual being, as a believer. We are spiritual beings, more importantly than just being physical beings. We take care of the physical so that we can focus our attention on building up our spiritual man. And the 15th of the month is just that opportunity. It's a day to say no to the flesh, yes to the Spirit, and to be guided through prayer and fasting toward a better, brighter, next day. And so we just pray that people will join us, pray for the country, pray for our city leaders, our government officials, pray for our friends and family. Most of all, pray for unity. Unity, shared goals, guys, build unity, not this division that we have surrounding us, where we've got, people parked on either side of a very defensive fence, and everybody feels like they're being attacked for choices that are being made. Let's love one another. Let's serve one another, and let's trust in the Lord that he will provide. He's Jehovah Jireh, the Lord our provider. He's the Lord our banner, and he's the Lord our healer. Let's be focused on him, and let's take a day of fasting and prayer to do just that, and align our spirit and our flesh, and get our flesh behind our spirit and our spirit focused on the Lord, and good things will begin to manifest. We'll want to see change begin to happen in ourselves, and that's where it begins, because then you'll see the change happen in maybe a family, friend, or a loved one. That might evolve into a change in your social circles. That may lead to a change in your church or your city or in your government, or even beyond, maybe potentially changing the world. Let's focus first on taking the responsibility, taking the bull by the horns for our own selves, and make good choices to live well, be well, and stay well, one bite at a time. So join us, and we look forward to making it happen.
I looked it up, Dr. Chapa, and in September, Tuesday falls on. It's going to be September the 15th. It falls on a Tuesday. So if there's still fasting going on, I'm going to have to remember that to make a note. So if for some reason I was like, Dr. Chapa seems different today, maybe it's just because you're a little bit hungry or the day's different, but I'm going to have to remember this.
Well, and do that, because ideally we don't want to be going through the day grumbling and complaining. Oh, I can't eat. I mean, you're going to have hunger pains, but no one's died for missing a meal. As a matter of fact, no offense, but you could probably, afford to miss a meal or two. And I'm telling you, with what you were going to eat, not eating it was probably a better decision anyway. And so we want to teach you how to eat better foods and to live better each and every day. And every day is a new opportunity. So choose well today, my friends. God bless all of you. We love you at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center. God bless you. May the Lord shine his face upon you, and may Christ ever reign in your hearts and minds and souls. God bless.
This is KHEA Radio 99.5 FM. It's Kickstart. My name's Gardy. Dr. Chapa with Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center is in studio or via internet, phone, and we make it work somehow on KHEA every Tuesday.